Okay, we're back and it's a new day and I've just kicked the camera. So now I'm going to do this section here, the body. This is going to fade off into complete darkness, so I need to be really sort of on the ball about where that darkness is going to go. Otherwise it's just going to look like he hasn't got any feet at all. So we have to bring the darkness up or it will just look wrong. So I'm just going to start with getting some nice colours in, and I'm using the pastel on the side because I just want to pull out from the edge here. This is the pulling out in the direction of the feathers, just to see what we get. I'm pressing very lightly. Okay. I'm not even pressing at all, I'm just gently laying the pastel next to the pastel mat and just dragging it across. And then I'm just going to flick out a bit more, like that. And then this edge, I want to make that a bit neater because it's neater and darker. It needs to be a nice contrast across there. Oops, right, so I've got some on there. So I just get rid of that. I could probably just, it's such a light layer, I could probably just do that, get rid of it. That'll do for now, and I'll get my blue pencil. Just sharpen that edge up a bit. I'm going a bit darker than the photo actually, because my reference photo, because I want that contrast to be really strong. I might take that up a bit higher later on, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that. And then I've got my BV18 and I've got a flat edge here, and I'm just going to drag that across, see what effects I get with that. That's quite nice. And I think I need that lighter blue as well, that sort of more royal blue. Just a small one and I just dropped it. Always good to have a rug underneath you when you work. An old rug is good because then your pastels don't break when you drop them, because invariably you do. Okay, I don't want it to be too much lighter than this or brighter. I want this to be about the same, just that contrast different. I'll get myself a tortillon. I've just cleaned it off on a piece of sandpaper. When you clean these tortillons, you need to drag the tortillon in one direction only, because if you do it back and forth like this on the sandpaper when you're cleaning it off, you end up unravelling the tortillon and it's pretty useless after that. just pulling all that pastel out in the direction that all those feathers are going. That really helps with the whole realism effect if you get everything going in the correct direction. Let's try the dark 24. We've got these slightly darker bits intermingled with some lovely turquoise bits over here. So just going to dab these on. And then as it comes up here, it fades out. It's beautiful the way it fades into the darkness. And this photo that I'm using as a reference, this wasn't what the photo was. This was a peacock in a garden. And I just changed the lighting to suit my needs, to suit what I wanted to create. I've got a little bit of black here. Let's bring that down the bottom. Don't want to put too much on because this is going to be a juggling act of the dark, so it looks realistic. Believable is the word. So I'm just dragging it out, not doing a solid block of colour because that wouldn't depict what I'm seeing. There's a lot of shade going on. There's a lot of shade or darker feathers intermingled, so I can't just add this as a pure block of colour. And it's always a case of building all of this up. So I've got a nice blue-green here, turquoise. Beautiful. See, I'm just angling that up now to make all that work in the right direction. And then I've got a lighter one here as well. It's kind of going a bit too greeny, so just trying to work out what I need to add. Yeah, it's a mix of those. Oh, I do like that. And remember, it just doesn't have to be accurate to the bird. It just has to be nice. Make your eyes pop. Go, ooh, I like that colour. So let's see what we get if we do some gentle blending there. Yeah, that's nice. That blue over the top. So I'm not going mad with the blending, I'm just doing very gentle strokes just to see how it's going to, what effect it's going to give me. And I want to keep some of the marks. I don't want the marks to be all blended out, and there's a real danger of doing that, so you do have to be careful. Less is more, and even if it's not quite right, just leave it, because we're only looking at one tiny little area at the moment, and you can sometimes spend hours faffing on a little area thinking, oh, it's not right, but actually in the big scheme of things it doesn't really matter, because it's the whole painting that we're looking at, not just a tiny area. Then I'm going to pull in as well with a little bit of black. First a stick and then a pencil. So the black is going to give me the rich pigment, the stick is going to give me the rich pigment, and then the pencil is going to give me the detail. Flicking it in, getting some lovely effects with those feathers. And that's not quite right, so I can flick out again. And play with that, but again I'm not going to get too carried away with worrying about how this looks, because remember it's the whole effect. So just get that BV18 again. Go a bit darker with our dark 20 down here. These may even go black as well. BV18, and you just need to go a little bit darker down here. To the dark 24. I'll make that a bit lighter. Back to the turquoise colours over here. Don't want to make these look too long. They are looking a little bit too long. So where I've blended it, they're blending into long feathers like that, when actually they're not. They're more coming out, so they're coming out the side. Even though there's a swoop this way, they're more coming forward. Just got to be careful not to bring them out when I blend again, to not blend them all the way. And don't forget to step back, because that's so important. Let's get some darker on down here. that blue disappear into the black down there. Right, so just gently going to move this about. In fact, I'm going to use a soft tool. This is a SOFFT tool, and it's really good for blending on pastel mat. They are from the pan pastel range, but you don't have to use them with pan pastels. You can use them with any pastel. So I'm just doing tiny little strokes to get that to look like the effect of the feathers, rather than long swooping strokes. Bit more pigment on there, a bit more vibrancy, and a bit of the dark 24 in there to break it up, and then I can just move it, manipulate it with this soft tool. And I'm just going to come a bit closer into that edge as well, just so it goes a tiny bit darker, so I can add a little bit of detail with some pencils. Softening that edge. Don't want to soften it too much. I think I will leave it like that, thinking maybe I'm not happy with it, but leave it until I'm finished, and then I can adjust it as needed. I may even add a little bit of blue down here, my darkest blue, the dark 2020, just coming down here so you can see just a little bit of the underbody to give more of a realistic effect. I'm just going to add a little bit of this pencil. It's a royal blue. It's a 405 Cavacello. Just along here, just to blend that in, just for a little bit more detail. Not blend it in, but but blend the edge of the highlight that I had across there. It wasn't quite right. I had to amend it. That's another blue just to add some more detail. And then I'll just soften that detail so it looks more realistic rather than drawn. Just giving that a little blend out. There, I'm going to leave that little bit for now and just see how we get on when we move to another section and assess the whole thing at the end. So now I'm moving on to the really tricky bit. So I have like transferred all of this, the black and the white marks, and I don't know if that's such a good idea. I don't know if that's gonna hinder the realism of this, because I think that's going to actually look quite flat if I do that, but if I made it more random and less perfect, it might work better. So here goes. So I've got a Faber-Castell black stick, a little bit of it. I'm just going to come in and define that feather that's coming along there, the shadow underneath. And again another shadow under there. This is all very light, I'm not pressing hard at all. And we've got a feather here. That is actually two feathers there. So we've got a slightly darker feather running under here. I'm just adding a very light layer of black there to darken it. And then we've got, when we can actually see the markings on that. So I'm going to give this a purple tint. Like this. And this feather is arching over the top like this. So I'm going to do it in that direction like that. Neaten up this edge. That was the cauliflower edge of the paint. So just make sure you don't go too close to your outlines when you're using paint. And then I'm going to get some lines of dark coming across, but making sure they're all arching over like this, because otherwise we're just going to lose that realism. Or it's just going to look flat. There can be random shapes. They really are totally sort of random. You've got little ones and big ones, and I'm just coming a little bit darker under there. I could even get my dark purple. There we go. Tint that a bit more so it's going to definitely look like a feather underneath, especially that end. Some of these aren't arching over at all, they're just random spots. I think I'll add some violet into them as well. Got a lovely dark violet in the Carbothello range, and it's $7.70. It's Payne's grey, but it's more violet than grey, so it's really nice and useful. A little bit more shading up there. Okay, I think that wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to try a little bit of this pink from Carbothello in there. See what we get. We don't want it bright white, that's just going to be too distracting. Okay, possibly even a purple. This is a Creta colour, well, lilac. It's called Old Rose Dark, and it's a beautiful colour. I just need to make these a little bit, they're all a bit smooth at the moment, and the shapes are more jaggedy. So I've got to make them more realistic by getting into the pattern of them and making them more, well, just jaggedy. Like that. And then just bring these up a tone to make them a little lighter. They've gone a little bit too dark. Okay, yeah, that's alright. And then I'm going to add some of the purple. I did use this purple over here, didn't I? So I'm going to put some of this purple over the black as well. Sometimes wish I could finish a painting in a whole day because I forget what colours I use. Yeah. And it will come a bit lighter. So this little feather here is my test piece for how I'm going to get everything to work on the whole lot. We're just going to bring that up a tone, I think even more So I'm going to add a white. Just put a bit of a white there, just to denote a little bit more light coming across the top. Like that. Okay. Right, let's do that whole kind of technique again. So over here we've got some little feathers coming round like this. And there's one coming across there like that. So all these marks I put on are all well and good, and they are actually helping me. But if I don't get the initial shape of the feathers, it's going to be super hard to get any form going, getting the lines going in the right direction and everything. So actually under here, oh no, that's that. That is darker, and there's a feather there. It's very hard. I'm just making some of that up as I go along as well, but as long as it looks believable, plausible, we'll be okay. So a little bit of dark under there. I think I'll get some this pink in quite early this time, because the ends of these are white, or a shade of, a tint of pink. And black. So I'm not just colouring in the gaps, I am thinking about the pattern that we discovered over here, where you had to be more jagged. So I'm thinking about that and making it a bit softer. So that's looking a little bit too uniform with these three across here. I'm just going to bring that, just break it up a little bit. That's better. And then get the purple. And then this one is looking really appealing because it looks quite simple. So we get that jagged look going sooner this time. So just doing backwards and forwards. That creates a nice jagged edge. A bit of shading under there. Take that a bit darker. How far up does that go? That goes up quite a way, that feather. It seems to go up to there. To make my black lines a bit thicker, or I'm going to have so much of the lighter colour in there. Pink on. Trying not to lose my jagged edges on my black here. Just turning my pencil to keep it sharp so I get those nice jagged edges. And then we'll go back to the purple. Got all this going on around here, so oof, not for the faint-hearted this. Oh my goodness. Neaten up those edges a bit. In fact, some of them don't actually need neatening up. Like that one there, that doesn't need neatening up at all. I think this is arching over this way, so I'm trying to get all these lines to arch that way. What we've got, I think we've actually got another feather coming across there. It's so hard to see, but we need to get these in, otherwise it's just going to look like one flat jumble of black and white zigzaggy lines. Let's hope it doesn't anyway. So you never know. You never know with art. You need to just do it, and sometimes come out of your comfort zone and try something different. Feathers are quite a new thing for me, but I am enjoying them. Just putting a few more black ones in there. Pink. So we've got two lots of feathers here, that one and then this one. Sometimes it takes a lot of studying your photo reference to be able to see things clearly, and it's like one of looking at those illusion pictures where something will suddenly pop out at you at 3D. And you have to keep looking and suddenly you will see what something looks like, whether it's a dog paw or something on the angle of the dog's face, or in this case all these feathers looking like they're just one jumble, or one feather in total, not lots of small feathers. So let's get the purple on there. Then I'll just go a bit darker across there. Just to tone that down, and then maybe just a few whiter bits. Like that. Okay. Right, so back to the pink. It's not nearly feeling as half as bad as I thought it was. Thought it would be. Just sort of breaking it down into smaller areas, concentrating on one feather at a time, and not thinking about the rest of it, because that would just be too much. A little bit of a tint with that one, and then a few highlighted bits. I'm just standing back from it just to make sure I'm happy. And what I've noticed is my photo reference has been balancing against the painting here, and it's kind of disturbed everything going along, so I need to be a bit more careful there. Right, so now I really have to do all this section, because if I don't, I'm going to end up putting my hand on there and it's not going to be a good look. I could put a bit of glassine over the top, but at the end of the day I've got to do it all anyway, haven't I? So it might as well just get stuck in. Alright, there's another feather coming around here. We've got one coming across there, and across here, and there, and there, and then, so I've got some good guidelines here that are, it's going to be okay, but getting the general shape of them is proving to be a good thing to do. Keep that going up there. So I can actually follow my guidelines now, which is fantastic, because this section is just getting to be crazy. There's a feather there coming around there, and it's all that there. If we can bring some of these down here a bit more. No, that's just crazy abstract. Not sure what's going on there. And then as we come up here, we've got more feathers coming around there. That. And like that. Oh my gosh, why did peacocks have to have this section on them? Why couldn't they all be this beautiful blue? Ay, ay, ay. And that's some of these lovely blue ones up there, so we'll just mark those off so I don't accidentally put some of those in. And then now there is so much black here. It's just a bit crazy. I'm just doing it very lightly in case this doesn't look right. But there's so much going on. I think I'm going to go back and find myself some more feathers, because I don't want to end up doing all this and it going wrong as I come down to these feathers down here. Got another one across there as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do these first. Otherwise, that is just not going to end up looking right. Pretty sure of that. Okay, now this one is 2 feathers going on down here. So take that up into there as some shadow. Look at these arching round again. That just disappears into the dark down there, so just making that a bit darker. Get the pink. And the purple over the top. I'll go a bit more pink in there. I didn't press very heavily, so it's just sort of giving us a grey. Okay, and then back to the purple. There it is. I'm just going to tint that edge for some shade coming down there. Now we've got this big one. Again, arcing my shapes down. I don't really need to stick to the marks that I've already got on here. I just need to get the shapes arcing over to make the feather look like it's arcing. I'm just turning my pencil as I go because it's getting quite blunt, and the turning is just giving me some nice jagged edges. And the pink, baby pink, it's number 681. more black in there. It looks a bit too sparse and a bit too even. That's better. So if I was you doing this bit, i.e. you're not filming, I would stick on a very nice song I like, or the radio, or podcast, or something, and maybe have a cup of hot chocolate or your favourite tipple, and just take your time with this. There is no rush. If you rush, what is the point? So I just need to get that edge of that feather looking more like it's an edge, so darkening the one underneath ever so slightly to make that edge look believable. And again here. You don't have to do it everywhere though. So now we're coming up to the next feather. So our next feather, some of these black ones at the end here, they fade out a bit, they're not so opaque, they're more softer colour, it's just the lighting. Make that a bit darker across there, so it's coming under those other feathers up there. And now we've got another jumbled one under here. That's another little one under there. And now we've got one coming across there. really know what's happening there at all, but it's sort of coming across to a point there. Right, back to the pink. So I'm just going to get these lines swooping across here so they give the effect and I don't have to work too hard to get every single little feather going. I'm just going to make sure they all arc over like this, creating some random, very random shapes, but all arcing over. My hand is starting to hurt because this is quite an awkward angle to do something at. And yes, I could move it, but then you wouldn't be able to see it so well. Till we come over to that bit. So just getting some of these in so they arc in the right direction. Sort of more like guides for myself to stick to rather. Sore hand. I dislocated my shoulder over the summer and I've had a bit of pins and needles in my hand because of it. I think I'm going to have to go over some of this and just make it stand out a bit more with the lighter feathers, because they're looking a bit washed out. I just turn in that pencil every so often to vary the shapes and make them more random to what I can do, but also keeping the pencil a little bit sharper than it would otherwise be. Whoa, right. I need a rest. So I'm going to have a little break and then I'll come back. Okay, back again with a sharp pencil. Right, let's get all this pink in. Something I'm noticing as I'm doing this is that I'm quite preferring the black to the purple, so I might just go over the purple with a bit more black. Right, let's come back with some black. Yeah, I am liking that. Yeah, that's much better with the more contrast actually. Rather than getting too much shading on there, I think the better contrast is working much, the stronger contrast is working much better. But you know what, I am running out of steam to do this, so I think I'm just going to move on and then just come back to this. Now that I know it's working, I'm going to do some of this and then come back, because my arm is hurting, my hand is hurting.